Hello, everyone, and welcome to Proline, a college football preview edition for 2013. We're going to take a look at the ACC. I'm joined by Jeff Saad, who runs Las Vegas Sports Services, and you got a pair of teams that are in the top 25, or I should say 25-1 in Vegas, who are expected to win the ACC. That's Florida State and Clemson. We're going to take a look at those two teams as well as some others and how they might perform. It's a new year for the ACC. They're adding Syracuse and Pitt, so it's an exciting season. When you look back at last year, you had the ACC Coastal Division had three teams that finished with 5-3 records, but Georgia Tech ended up advancing to the title game. And they took on really the powerhouse teams of the conference in the ACC Atlantic. That was Florida State and Clemson. Both had 7-1 records, but Florida State had beaten Clemson during the regular season 49-37, so they advanced to the title game. And it really wasn't much of a game. Florida State won 21-15, but they led 21-6. It was a sloppy game with 5 turnovers. And for this season, you got two of those teams at 25-1 to win the national title. So, and those are the same two teams again, Clemson and Florida State. Jeff, when you look at these two, who do you think has the edge for this 2013 football season?
Slight edge with Clemson. They definitely have one of the country's best offenses with Taj Boyd and Samuel Watkins back at quarterback and wide receiver. Returned 6 on offense, 7 on defense, coming off an 11-2 season, 9-4 against the spread. Watkins missed a few games last year because of suspensions and injuries, but all the indications are he's going to be he'll bounce back this year. Tigers' defense is much improved. You remember the year before they gave up 70 points to West Virginia in that bowl game. They were third in the ACC in points allowed, and they need help at linebacker, and they're going to get Kellen Jones, a transfer from Oklahoma this year. Defensive line is in pretty good shape, but they need help in the defensive backfield. And they're going to get Martin Jenkins back. He missed all last season with an injury. They have to replace Andre Ellington at running back, and it looks like it's going to be Rod McDowell, rushed for 450 yards last year. There's a good chance they'll lose the first game. It's against Georgia, but and then they have, after that, South Carolina State, then a bye week before starting conference play at NC State. So, and the end of the season at South Carolina, they get Florida State at home on October 19th. So I'm looking at Clemson and maybe at least 9-3 and maybe even a 10-2 season, and they'll be in a battle with Florida State for the Atlantic championship.
Well, I'll go ahead and give the Seminoles the nod to repeat as champions. I mentioned they are the defending champs. It was actually their first title in the ACC since 2005, which may surprise some people. But Jimbo Fisher has really a talented stock team coming back, with one exception, and that's the quarterback play. You get 6 starters back on offense. The skill positions are really loaded, and 4 on defense. Now, this offense last year averaged just over 39 points and averaged over 206 yards rushing and passing per game, so they could kill you with a run and the pass. They do lose the quarterback, E.J. Manuel, to the NFL. Originally, they had Clint Trickett, who was going to be the backup, or be the starter this year after being the backup, but he decided to transfer out, and the reason was the guys that they have coming up. They have 2 outstanding young quarterbacks. 6'6" sophomore Jacob Coker has some experience, but really the spark plug here is the 6'4" freshman Jameis Winston. He was one of the nation's top high school quarterback prospects back in 2012, so he redshirted last fall. 2011 Alabama Gatorade State Player of the Year. Looked into playing baseball, too, as he's just an enormous athlete. So you got a couple of big guys who are mobile, very similar to E.J. Manuel, and they will be stepping in. Very talented, but certainly lacking for experience. The guys around them, though, are not. They got a boatload of talent in the backfield. Junior running back Devontae Freeman had 660 yards. 5.9 yards per carry. Running back James Wilder Jr. had over 600 yards, and the wide receiver Rashad Green leading with 741 yards. He's back. And don't forget, Florida State has one of the best offensive lines, not just in the ACC, but in the country. This Florida State defense has only 4 returning starters. They do have some concerns on the defensive line. But remember, this group was 6th in the nation, allowing just 14.7 points per game. The linebacking core for the Seminoles is just terrific, and the secondary has some of their top players back. Keep in mind that they do have a new defensive coordinator in Jeremey Pruitt. This guy is only 37 years old, doesn't have a lot of experience. He was the Alabama defensive backs coach the last 2 years for Nick Saban, and his reputation is that he's a great recruiter in the Deep South, but doesn't have a lot of coaching experience, so that'll be something worth watching, but he does have a lot of talent to work with. And when you look at the schedule, it really comes down to the game at Clemson, which is October 19th, and they don't have to play Virginia Tech or North Carolina. And the thing about that October 19th game against at Clemson, but they have 2 weeks to prepare, so the schedule makers were very kind to Florida State. And last year's game, it'll be a revenge spot as Florida State won 49-37. The total in that game was 55. Obviously, it sailed over. That's going to be the big one, Jeff, right in the middle of the season. How about a team like the Tar Heels, the rebuilding Tar Heels? They got a shot to be any good?
Oh yeah, Larry Fedora was just a tremendous hire for the Tar Heels. He was just what they needed, just what that program needed after they had all those NCAA troubles. Last year, Tar Heels averaged nearly 41 points a game. The balanced attack, 292 yards passing, 194 yards rushing. I remember the game that turned the season around. It's actually a game they lost, but it was against Louisville, third game of the season. They were down 36-7. I had Louisville in the game. They were down 36-7, and they came back and made it close. Almost, probably should have won the game. They lost. Tar Heels lost 39-34. I hung on for the close cover. But after that game, the Tar Heels won 7 of the last 9. Brendan Renner's back at quarterback. He set a school record with 28 TD passes. They have to replace Giovanni Bernard at running back, and they lose 3 starters in the offensive line. The defense returns 6 starters, but it's still a big question mark. Can't forget that some of those losses last year, they lost 68-50 to Georgia Tech, and they lost to Duke 33-30. So defense could be the question mark this season. This might be a team where you want to take the game to go over the total, especially early in the season. They open at South Carolina. They have to play at Virginia Tech and at Pittsburgh, and not a real tough schedule. I would say 8-4 would be my prediction for North Carolina this season, and they have a shot to win the Coastal Division if they can steal a couple of games here and there.
Okay, I'll take a look at the NC State Wolfpack. They are off a winning season as usual, 7-6, just 4-4 in the ACC. However, really big changes for the Wolfpack. The quarterback, Mike Glennon, is off to the NFL, and they have a new coach too, and Dave Doran. He takes over, having to replace 16 starters. Doran was at Northern Illinois, and those were teams that ran the football. That was their specialty, and that's what Doran likes to do. And that's a complete contrast to what we've seen with NC State under Tom O'Brien and offensive coordinator Dana Bible. So Doran brings in Matt Canada as offensive coordinator. They work together at Northern Illinois and Wisconsin, and the key there is that it's all about running the football first. So NC State is going to be a ground-oriented attack. One of the problems for the Wolfpack will be a quarterback. They don't have a lot of experience. They do have sophomore quarterback Manny Stalker learning the new offense, and they bring in Pete Thomas. He's a big kid, 6'5". He's a transfer from Colorado State, so he does have some experience playing there, but he ran a pro-style attack, so he's learning a completely new style of offense here. So, and they also bring back a sophomore running back in Shadrach Thornton. He had 694 yards to lead the team. So you're looking at an NC State team that's going to be very good at running the football, but boy, the passing game is going to be tough with these quarterbacks, plus learning the new system. They're going to be learning more zone blocking, and they're going to have a quick pass routes, which is different from last year. So a lot to digest for these offensive players. And then the defense, boy, this defense wasn't very good, giving up 25.6 per game. They lost cornerback David Amerson. He left early for the NFL draft. The secondary does have Justin Burris, a sophomore, returning at one corner. But you got 5 other defensive players who left the program since the end of the regular season. And this was a defense that gave up 62 points to Clemson. They lost to North Carolina 43-35. And they're on a bad spread run, 5-7-1 ATS. Taking that a step further, they were terrible on the road, 1-4 against the spread. Jeff, I can't see this team making a bowl game. I don't like the offense. The defense is poor. A lot of changes with the coaching staff. Be a good go-against team, too, particularly on the road again. How about the young Miami Hurricanes? Are they going to be improved?
Well, they should be. They played 21 freshmen last season, including 10 that started at least one game. They finished last in the ACC in rush defense and pass defense. The fact that most of those defenses started return might not be a good thing, but they'll have an extra year experience. It might be another team that you might want to look over the total in the first few games of the season. Stephen Morris back at quarterback. The entire offensive line returns. Strong at wide receiver. Duke Johnson, the running back, was ACC offensive rookie of the year. He'll need to stay healthy, though, because they don't have a lot of depth at running back. 2 of the first 3 games are against Florida Atlantic and Savannah State. They're sandwiched around Florida. They go on the road at North Carolina, Florida State, and Pittsburgh. This it's hard to tell. I think they're bowl eligible this year. I think the penalty is over with, so they'll have something to play for. They've returned 14 players that started 7 games, 9 starters on offense, 5 on defense. It's not. Last year they had a tough schedule and finished 7-5. And if the defense can somehow make some kind of a miraculous recovery, they can improve on that this year. I would say maybe 8-4 at the best, at the most. And I'm looking at the Coastal Division here. I don't think they'll win it, but they have a shot at it. But I think 8-4, maybe second or third in the division, is realistic for Miami, Florida this year, John.
Well, Virginia Tech is another team that has perennially been in the bowls, 20th straight bowl game. That's what they did last season. But it was a little bit of a disappointment, a 7-6 regular season, just 4-4 in the ACC. So Frank Beamer has made some changes. Beamer's got 4 starters back on offense, 9 on defense. The offense averaged 25 points and was balanced as usual. However, they took a significant step backwards last year. In 2011, they were 35th in total offense, but last year they plummeted to 81st in the nation. So Beamer made some changes. He got rid of his offensive coordinator and he brings in Scott Loeffler. This is the guy who ran the Auburn offense, and he ran more wide open attacking units. So you may see a little bit more of Virginia Tech spreading the field and passing the football more. And they do have a senior quarterback returning, which is usually a plus. In this case, he's a big kid, 6'6", Logan Thomas. However, if they're going to ask him to pass more, he hasn't shown the ability to pass very well. Thomas led the Hokies in rushing with 524 yards, so he's an exceptional runner. However, his passing game not very good, 51.2% completion percentage, and last year he had 18 touchdown passes, only 16 interceptions, so that is definitely a concern. I wouldn't be surprised to see Virginia Tech be a little conservative as they work in the new offense with the kid, and if they're going to open it up, maybe in October, but certainly not in September. But there's no problems, though, with this defense for Virginia Tech. As usual, very talented. You got 9 starters back on a defense that ranked 32nd or better in the nation in scoring, rushing, and pass defense. Do have some concerns up front, but the linebacking core is absolutely loaded, led by Jack Tyler. He was the ACC's leading returning tackler. The secondary, too, is very strong. And this is the Virginia Tech defense that gave up 22.8 points per game last year. That was 32nd in the nation. And keep in mind, Beamer has been very good on the road. 22-10 straight up the last 6 years with a winning spread record of 18-4-1. However, that didn't apply last year. They were only 1-4 straight up in ATS as the offense took a step back. And the schedule isn't really very friendly. They open, of all teams, with Alabama, which is no fun. And then they play 3 of their final 4 games on the road. Beamer, with that run-oriented attack and the great defense, has been a great team under the total the last 2 years, 16-9-1 under the total. Wouldn't be surprised to see that continue, especially if they have to scale back the offense with the new kid. All right, Jeff, any other teams that stand out you want to look at in the ACC?
Yeah, I was going to say Virginia Tech's offense is going to have to get better in a hurry if they're going to open against Alabama. I'm going to look at Wake Forest here. Wake Forest had a decent run in the 2000s, but the last few years have been pretty rough. Last year they were 5-7 after a 3-1 start. Senior quarterback Tanner Price is back. He didn't have as good a season last year as he did as a sophomore. He threw for 3,000 yards. Last year he threw for 2,300. He had 12 TDs, 7 interceptions, although the offensive line wasn't that great last year. 9 starters returned on defense, but it wasn't very good last year. The opponents scored an average of 32 points per game. Deacons need to make a big improvement on the offensive line. They don't have much of a chance to win the Atlantic Division, but if they don't make a bowl game, it won't be because of a tough schedule. The non-conference schedule includes Presbyterian, Louisiana Monroe, and Army. Florida State at home, on the road against Clemson, Miami, Syracuse, and Vandy. Doesn't look good for Wake Forest. I think at best they would go 5-8. If they can somehow pull out a bowl game, it would be a miracle this year. But I'm picking Wake Forest probably 6th in the Atlantic Division, John.
Well, a team that I think can get a winning record will be Georgia Tech under Paul Johnson, an above-average coach, and a very difficult team to defend with that speed-oriented option attack. Georgia Tech averaged 311 yards rushing per game last year. That was number 4th in the nation. No problem with their offense, 33.6 points per game. They did have a 500 record. They do have sophomore quarterback Vad Lee, who's got speed. Did get a little bit of chance to pass the football with 3 touchdowns and 1 pick, but it's his legs that are so good. 544 yards rushing, and they returned junior running back Zach Lasky, 697 yards, over 5 yards per carry. So again, this Georgia Tech offense is going to be potent. It's the defense that really you want to watch early in the year because it has been bad the last couple of years, and they made some significant changes. Last year they gave up 28.3 points per game, and the last 2 years they had defensive coordinator Al Groh. 2 years ago he tried a two-gap scheme. It just didn't work. Last year they went to a one-gap technique, and Groh was a proponent of the 4-3 defense. Well, all of that is scrapped. Groh is gone, and they bring in defensive coordinator Ted Roof. He's bringing in a 3-4 scheme, so your defense has brand new looks, and they've got 8 starters back on defense, so a lot of experience, and Roof's reputation as a defensive coordinator is very good. So that's really going to be the key for Georgia Tech. The defense on paper, anyway, looks improved, and the offense looks potent as usual. When you look at their schedule, we're going to see how good they are early on, because September they have a pair of showdown games at home against North Carolina and Virginia Tech in the ACC. And then early October 5th and 12th, they're playing at Miami and at BYU. They take a long road trip. So that'll be early October will be a bit of a demand for Georgia Tech scheduling-wise. Okay, that's going to wrap up our Pro-Line preview of the ACC. Thanks for joining us, and make sure you check out JimFeist.tv for more NFL and pro and college football previews. Thanks, everyone.